We have some disturbing but unsurprising breaking news, which is that Donald Trump is publicly calling for Democrats to be hanged. And we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, you heard it right. The sitting president of the United States is publicly calling for his political opposition to be hanged and killed. Aaron Rupar pointed this out. Trump calls for Democratic members of Congress to be hanged. Hang them. George Washington would. Donald Trump retruthed it. He went on Truth Social to retweet and retruth that sentiment. It's an endorsement. As I point out in response, I know nothing matters, and to MAGA, the most unprincipled political movement in U.S. history, haha, own the libs trumps everything else. But imagine how the snowflakes triggered by President Biden's red light speech would have reacted if he called for Republicans to be hanged. Remember that speech that President Biden gave at Independence Hall? The infamous blue and red light speech in which he said that not all Republicans, not even a majority of Republicans, are MAGA Republicans, but MAGA Republicans who support the overthrow of free and fair elections should be called out, and they're dangerously extreme. Remember that? Remember how Biden went out of his way to not demonize the totality or even the majority of the opposition party? Well, in contrast, the current sitting president, Donald Trump, is calling for Democrats to be hanged. So imagine all the MAGA Republican politicians and pundits and Fox News hosts who clutch their pearls and whined about Biden's divisive speech. I want you to imagine if Biden had ever done what Trump has done, ever said what Trump has said. How would these people have reacted? Of course, they would have been upset because there's a glaring double standard here when it comes to rhetoric. Donald Trump and MAGA Republican politicians, pundits, and leaders can say whatever they want, whenever they want, at any time. But Democrats have to be very fastidious, very careful about what they say. And even if you go out of your way to say, I'm not demonizing the other party, I just disagree with this extreme minority, they still clutch their pearls, cry, and shit their pants in rage. Well, Trump is also calling for Democrats to be arrested. So he says this is seditious behavior at the highest level. Each one of these traitors to our country should be arrested and put on trial. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. We won't have a country anymore. An example must be set. President DJT. Kyle Cheney of Politico says Trump is calling for the arrest of Democratic members of Congress who made a video urging the military to refuse, quote, illegal orders. We'll get to that video in a second because it was the predicate for all of this. Kyle Griffin, another reporter, says Trump is now seeming to endorse execution for his perceived enemies, retweeting a post that called for the hanging of Democrats who told service members to refuse illegal orders. He also claimed that Dems are engaging in, quote, seditious behavior. Now, very ironic given that Donald Trump tried to steal a free and fair election, which he legitimately lost, got his ass kicked. He tried to steal it with a fake elector scheme, contemplated ordering the Justice Department to seize voting machines, things of that nature. Then, when that failed, then he fomented a violent insurrection on January 6th to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. And as the sitting president at the time, he had the highest civic and constitutional obligation to crush that insurrection. And instead, he sat on his fat orange ass and watched it unfold for about 2 to 3 hours. Okay, so this man accusing anybody of sedition is like throwing stones in a glass house. But let's take a look at the wildly offensive video that has Donald Trump and MAGA so caught up in their feels that they're openly advocating for the death of Democrats.
I'm Senator
That's the video. that Trump and MAGA find so offensive that they are advocating for the arrest and execution of the Democrats who did this, and maybe even more. They just said Democrats, right? The thing is, there's nothing in that video that's offensive or untrue or wrong or unconstitutional or seditious. They didn't say refuse all orders. They didn't say refuse orders you don't like. They said you can and should and must refuse illegal orders. This is important, okay? Now, on News Nation, last night, conservative, I think he's ex-Fox News, Leland Vittert, was in his feelings about this, okay? He's not diehard MAGA, but he certainly grades Trump on a curve, and he spends more time complaining about the Democrats. Well, he had on legendary conservative columnist and thought leader George Will, okay? And I guess he thought he was going to go for a gotcha here, like, George, what about these Democrats doing all this stuff? George Will actually lays out the case pretty articulately because it's really a nothing burger. What they were calling for is not just uncontroversial on the merits, it's actually obligated by the laws of our nation.
Are we not in a dangerous place where you have leaders of the major political party that is in opposition basically giving cover to members of the military to decide for themselves what is and is not an order they want to follow?
They are taught as part of their education as soldiers to make their own judgments about these. We are never going to hear again the Nuremberg defense. At the Nuremberg trials, Germans said, I was only obeying orders.
Right.
And we said, no, we're going to tell our soldiers that there are exemptions and that you do not shelve your conscience when you enlist in the military.
So, again, though.
So Vittert's like, well, when you put it that way, listen, I understand Vittert, again, he's diet MAGA, not diehard MAGA, diet MAGA. He criticizes Trump from time to time, but he really wants to look for a way to get upset at the Democrats. But the fact of the matter is, everything that the Democrats said here was just objectively true. This is black and white. The Democrats were 100% right, and Republicans complaining about this and crying, sedition, treason, arrest, execution. They're just objectively wrong. This is a rare issue in politics where one side is 100% right and virtuous, and the other side, MAGA, is 100% wrong and vice-ridden, right? The fact of the matter is, U.S. law compels soldiers to not carry out illegal orders. A CNN notes, in the video, lawmakers don't specify which orders service members have received or might receive that could be illegal. But service members are required to follow only lawful orders in accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Following an order that might violate the law could open service members up to prosecution, as legal precedent holds that receiving an order alone isn't a defense, colloquially known as the Nuremberg defense, as it was deployed by senior members of Adolf Hitler's leadership team during legal proceedings after the Second World War. We'll provide some additional context for why this video was issued, but again, this is huge. Remember, the Nazis said, shit, I was just following orders, guys. You can't hold me accountable. And the U.S. was like, actually, yes, soldiers have to be taught to use discernment. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this means that's always an easy call, right? Because you're still expected to follow lawful orders, and you're probably not a lawyer. So how the hell do you determine as a soldier which orders are lawful and which are unlawful? Really friggin' hard. That puts a lot of burden and a lot of stress of judgment and conscience on every single member of the United States military. That is a burden, but it's also a necessary burden. There's just no other way around it. You are not permitted. You are not obligated nor permitted. You're not required, nor is it okay for you to follow illegal orders. And service people who do follow illegal orders should be prosecuted because, of course, we reject the Nuremberg defense. Right? So again, this is totally uncontroversial. It's just uncontroversial. And I have to emphasize this. Would it be wrong if the Democrats said, hey, any order that your superiors issue under the Trump administration or any order issued by Donald Trump is illegal, and therefore you should disobey any of Trump's orders? Yes, that would be wrong. And I don't know what the legal grounds of sedition would be, but that would be, we would condemn that wholeheartedly. A Republican politician should never tell U.S. troops, you must disobey the orders of Democratic presidents or Republican or Democratic politicians doing the same thing under Republican presidents. But it is okay, I think, for people on either side of the spectrum to remind soldiers no matter who's president, Trump, Obama, Biden, Bush, that if your commander-in-chief gives you an unlawful order, you must refuse it. That's the expectation. That is the legal requirement. That's a good thing to say. That's a good thing to emphasize. There's nothing controversial about it. And yet, in response to this, Trump is calling for the death of Democrats. The video comes as U.S. military officials, including the commander of U.S. Southern Command and U.S. allies, including the U.K., have questioned the legality of a series of military strikes targeting suspected drug traffickers in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific. The attacks have killed at least 83 people since September. The Trump administration is also fighting multiple court cases over its use of troops in American cities, raising legal questions about how the military can be used on U.S. soil. And as we've discussed, the legality of what Trump has done, particularly in the Caribbean, I mean, this is just, it's fairly black and white based on what's proffered. Trump is engaging in illegal acts in the Caribbean, according to national security experts, military law experts. We'll see how the court cases are adjudicated, but that's the context in which the Democratic politicians issued this video. And again, in a response, Trump is publicly calling for them to die. Not good. Not good. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.